You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And we are approaching the Super Bowl.
The last podcast of the season.
Yeah, well, we will do a recap where we...
Yeah, but I mean the last betting podcast.
Oh, I know. It's...
And, midway through the season, it's like, oh, fuck, is the season ever going to end? And then it gets to January, and it's like, I don't want it to end.
I know. I've already planned that, I'm going to go out on Wednesdays and bet one of the tracks for horse racing because I don't work Wednesdays.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I got to wean myself off the gambling.
Huh. Well, I gave you a horse race this weekend, and you didn't even bet it.
No, I was far too hungover and or drunk, depending on which day that actually came through.
Saturday, but I made a whopping $4.
Oh, well done.
Bet 19, 123.
A win's a win's a win. That's the philosophy.
Well, it wasn't a hard race to bet. I just did 6 exacta boxes with the 2 favorites, 3 in each to win, and then just did the with 2 other horses.
Okay.
So, and one of them hit.
Well, you can't get really more than one of them hitting.
And then the show horse hit for me. I bet 2 horses to show, and one of those hit.
Oh, okay.
So
I was thinking, that was mathematically. Usually they avoid that where you can bet almost everybody and still come out a winner. Usually they make the payoffs on the exacta too low.
Well, the second horse wasn't one of the favorites, so that made it worthwhile. It was like 25-1 or something. So it worked out okay, but enough about my gambling exploits and my big wins. Well, it's about as big a win as we get when we get 2 out of 3 in football, so.
Yeah, that's true. So, lots going on in the NFL. I think, I don't know, is there much you want to talk about today?
Just John Lynch getting hired as the 49ers GM.
That organization is fucking clueless.
Did you see who wished him luck? Matt Millen.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. And he was laughing about it.
Yeah.
It's
a steep learning curve.
We saw what Elway did. It's like, Elway, first of all, owned a successful chain of car dealerships. What that teaches you right away is how to delegate responsibility. He sold them for a massive profit. He was a good businessman. Then he became a part owner of an arena team where he was presumably fairly involved, also in education. Then he shadowed the fucking Broncos for an entire year before he was hired. Elway put in the fucking education. Like, there's no comparison to John Lynch coming out of a booth.
And, well, you know why Lynch wanted secrecy through the whole process? Because the 49ers would have been laughed out of the fucking league.
Yep.
And then they announced him as a hire. No.
6 years.
Who signed somebody for 6 years?
I'm not necessarily against it if it's a super strong candidate and an organization that's destroyed, right? So you're not trying to beat the clock. You can make the hard decisions. But
no, I agree with that.
A completely raw, holy fuck.
Well, you look at the guys that came out from under that worked with Belichick. Pioli in Kansas City flopped. Although he must have been responsible for some of those draft picks that are successful now.
Yeah, I think he might be, in retrospect, a better performer than he was.
Well, player personnel anyways. The stories about him and how he ran the offices and that were legendarily douchebaggish.
Yeah, but those were almost all from Whitlock.
No, but Whitlock was tied into Kansas City. I read in Sports Illustrated and stuff too. He was a total dick. Like he'd leave a piece of paper on the carpet and see if it was picked up the next day, and fucking, he was just a douche.
Yeah,
and it's not a coincidence that he hasn't been hired anywhere else.
No, though GMs almost never are. They'll be
to
hired
any
as some sort
capacity.
of consultant. Oh yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
His name hasn't surfaced ever in anything, like even an interview. His name hasn't come up. There's something to the whatever rumors were, because you would call the old team and say, what the fuck was he like? And if he got he was a nightmare, even though he might have made some good picks. Like I'm sure Kelsey and who's the Lion Johnson, maybe Justin Houston.
Well, I even think Jamal was one of his, wasn't he?
Maybe, yeah. When he did the Alex Smith deal, and he didn't do bad on the player side of it.
But again, there's so much more to it too. It's like you or I just going, oh well, they need this player, they need that player. Well, the fact is we don't know how the business actually works, and any time in that, there's a lot about relationships, there's a lot about delegation, there's a lot about trust, and this is, to my eyes, completely insane.
Yep, right out of the TV booth. It's not like baseball, where everybody just plays a position and they're not really intertwined too much.
Yeah.
Basically, you're not dependent on anybody else to make a catch in the outfield or hit the ball. You're basically your own guy. Unless you're turning a double play, you're basically on your own. So it's a little easier to judge how people mesh. It's not in foot. That blew my mind. I'm like, John Lynch. That can't be the John Lynch from Plane. That's all that went through my head. I'm like, who the fuck is John Lynch?
He was a dirty son of a bitch player, and wasn't there some sort of scandal with him about roids? But I couldn't find it on the internet. I was actually looking today. But
no, you're thinking of the other guy that played in Denver and Oakland.
Oh, yeah, the linebacker. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. So, I'll take that back. But
that had his story about had the fishing tackle box full of pills and vitamins and all that. And
send
that
his
was
wife across the border to buy him?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's mind-boggling.
I believe the Niners' statement, too, even directly referred to what Elway's done in Denver, which, I just laid out a bunch of reasons why that comparison is completely invalid. And the other one, and this came up on Simmons' podcast, it's Lombardi. I know we don't like him, but he did point out that Ozzie Newsome came in right after being a player into the Cleveland front offices, and that's where he got his education. And it's still
but he wasn't
an
a GM. He wasn't
exactly.
a GM.
He was a player personnel guy, and he learned how it all worked.
Yeah. It's rare.
Yeah, well, I'd like to start, because they're still paying Tom Sola or whatever. They're still paying Chip Kelly. Presumably, they're still paying the GM they fired.
Yeah, bulky, yeah.
How much money are they going to be paying to people they fire?
Oh, lots, because Lynch won't last more than 3 years. Would be my guess.
The only thing, and supposedly, and this is a rumor too, was Little Shanahan who called him to get him to throw his hat in the ring. So does he just want a straw man up there because his dad couldn't get hired for the job because the Niners said he'd never work for them? Is that all he is?
Well, yeah, you usually don't hire the coach and then the GM.
No.
And if the coach got the GM his job, yeah, sounds like that's going to be the case. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan's going to do the job. I don't even know why you'd take that job.
I don't think so either. His
roster's depleted. They have no. The only game breaker they have on offense is Carlos Hyde.
And yeah, this isn't even a criticism of little Shanahan. This is a criticism that no one can do it with no talent.
No.
And it seems foolish to walk into a situation where you know that you have virtually zero talent.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm amused.
Oh, at least we know the 49ers won't keep somebody that long if it's still in the toilet, because they got rid of Chip Kelly after a year.
Which, once you got him there, and there were positive aspects considering that roster, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to completely rip Chip Kelly for his performance there. The same way I honestly won't be blaming Kyle Shanahan for their collapse next year. Not entirely.
Well, and the thing, when you hired Lynch, do you think he was actually studying college tape for the draft? Like, I know your scouts do most of the work, but when he was hired as he now has final say on who they draft.
I can't imagine they have much of a scouting department, because didn't Chip Kelly, at least in Philadelphia, take a machete to the scouting department there? I mean, this is the kind of thing we'd never hear about, but did he do the same when he arrived in San Fran?
No, he didn't get the same. That's why he left Philly, because he couldn't get the power. He lost out to the GM.
Well, he got the power there, and then that was a disaster. But
yeah, so I don't think he got that same power in San Francisco, but it's irrelevant now. 6 years, though.
For both of them. Supposedly, because tampering rules say that Shanahan isn't hired yet.
Yeah.
And we know that the NFL is a stickler for the rules.
Well, they don't care as long as it's an owner or a coach. But if you're a player, you better represent the league properly.
Well, and not talk to anyone who might hire you before your free agency period is exactly at the minute mark. And yeah, you're right. That's a good point. But as Jed York says, you can't fire the owner. That takes balls to say.
But it's hilarious how far they've fallen.
Well, and Kelly's a huge Niners fan. My friend, you know him.
Yeah.
But he said as soon as the dentist came in that the Niners were fucked. And I think he was as shocked as anyone by the Harbaugh years. I can mock this and laugh this, but, they have a stadium. They have a place to play. And is their owner any worse than mine?
Yes. He is. But
we will see.
Well, you forced out the best coach you had since Walsh and Seifert.
To protect the GM who lasted 2 more years.
Yeah. Like, I'm assuming Harbaugh did most of the drafting in the years when they were going to NFC Championship games 3 years in a row and it's won Super Bowl.
That's an assumption,
and what was he there, 4 years?
Don't know. I mean, perhaps the outgoing guy whose name escapes me,
Balky,
was a good personnel guy.
Balky. From Strange. What was that? Perfect Strangers. No, but like they drafted. Well, how many guys did they draft on defense that retired? Young. Like that didn't help them, and they were riddled with injuries this year on defense too. Didn't help. And their receivers are old. Who's their one receiver? They got Curley. Isn't that Jerome Curley or something like that?
Yeah, he was there.
He was their best receiver.
Ex-Jet. Wide up number 3 on most teams.
But quarterback position's in flux. Oh, Kyle Shanahan's going to have fun.
Yeah, it's a big step down from Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and even a surprise burner in Taylor Gabriel.
Well, I am glad I have Carlos Hyde in one of my fantasy teams because he's going to see. If you see how they use him in Atlanta, the running backs, Carlos Hyde's going to get the ball a lot.
He will, but, that was the argument for Todd Gurley, too. But when the team truly has nothing, though, it can be.
No, but Hyde had a good year last year, fantasy-wise.
Yeah, but Chip Kelly does manage to confuse in that. Like, we'll see. I wouldn't be penciling him in for 1,000 yards yet.
Well, he'll get 1,500 receiving and rushing combined. That's plenty.
Yeah, unless he retires, as you said.
Yeah. No, I think Roethlisberger will retire before Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, probably has a little more to fall back on.
Yeah. That's all I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and that was about the only subject worthwhile. So, for the last time this season, do you know what time it is?
It's motherfucking game time!
That's right. It's motherfucking game time. Super Bowl 51, or LI, as the league prefers. I did always love that they called it Super Bowl 50 because Super Bowl L they thought had connotations of loser.
So, only the NFL would read it that deep.
New England is a 3-point favorite. Last I checked the over-under, it was 59.5, but much to your relief, I'm certain, I don't want to talk about totals at all.
No, it went down a point. It's 58.5 right now.
Okay.
But the line hasn't moved in a week.
No, and...
Which is weird. That's weird to me.
When I checked earlier in the day, it was also just standard VIG on both sides of that.
Yeah. So,
you mentioned pre-podcast you hadn't decided yet. I have an opinion, but this is by no means set in stone. I like New England.
I was going to say.
I like New England. I like laying the points here. A few reasons for it.
Okay, go into those.
Okay. First of all, Atlanta's defense still is poor. And New England has scored against virtually everybody they've played, even Seattle. They will put up points against this defense. By hook or by crook, videotape or not, they will put up points. To me, though, more importantly, it's the coaching staff is still superior. Belichick is the best. I think we agree on that.
Yep.
And finally, the team that has been there before almost always beats the team that's just getting there. That's the big one for me.
Okay.
These Atlanta kids, and it's a young team, it's a fast team, and I love this Atlanta team in many ways as well. But they are going to be overwhelmed. And everyone talks about, this shouldn't affect it. But it does. There are media appearances constantly for players who've never had to talk to anyone except the beat reporter who befriended them at the locker. They are now being asked to tell their life stories. There is, even though pussy is plenty available for all NFL players, there is a sea of it here. The team that is not used to it tends not to handle that well. And for New England, it's another day at the office.
Okay, I still haven't decided, but here's my argument for Atlanta.
Okay.
New England has 0 pass rush. 0. Matt Ryan has carved teams up with 0 pass rush. They always say about the Patriots defense, they take away your biggest weapon and then try to beat them with something else. This is the one team that can beat you with something else. I don't know what the Patriots' rush defense is like. It's been their Achilles heel the last few years. You have Coleman and Freeman who can catch the ball out of the backfield, both rush the ball equally well. The Patriots were rushing too against the Steelers in some spots. We've seen, and you brought this up last podcast or for the conference championship, the Falcons can win without Julio Jones being the focal point. Like to beat the Steelers, try and stop Bell, keep Antonio Brown under wraps. That pretty much shut him down. The Steelers don't have much depth past that at receiving. The Falcons do. To your experience factor, Dan Quinn's coached in 2 Super Bowls before with the Seahawks. He knows what it takes to win.
He wasn't there for the second one.
Okay, for the first one, which they blew out. I'm not comparing the defenses, but he set up the game plan to stop John.
That was fussy. That was nitpicking. Continue.
So I don't think that's as big an issue on the coaching side. I know Belichick's the best ever. I just don't know how Atlanta had a pass rush in both their playoff games. At Seattle, you can kind of wipe that one away because their offensive line was garbage. But even before Green Bay lost their offensive lineman, Rodgers was getting hit. Every Super Bowl we've won, we went with the better pass rush.
No, we went with the better defense.
Well, I think Atlanta's might be better.
I really don't think so.
Well, New England gets no pressure, and they're going against the offense that has racked up points against everybody. They beat Denver without having to throw the ball a lot. They did it with the run game, which shows me that they can change. They're not set on one plan.
Okay.
When New England's going to throw the ball 40 to 50 times in a game, the pass rush becomes important. The only way Atlanta wins this game is if they get a pass rush, but they've generated a pass rush against everybody. Until the last 2 playoff games, I didn't know much about Atlanta. The defense kind of impressed me from what I thought they were. Like to shut out Green Bay in the first half, they get turnovers, and I know you can't bank on that.
Yeah.
But it's been a season long. We've seen it before with New Orleans.
It hasn't been season long with Atlanta. It's kind of been 8 games. Yeah.
They've been getting turnovers. I'm still torn because I don't know how you shut down Atlanta's offense with no pass rush. Like they had 0 against Pittsburgh. There was 1 sack in that game between the 2 teams combined.
But did they have to sack?
Well, you just have to hit them.
This is where we get to.
No, but you have to hit them.
Okay, against Atlanta, you probably have to get in there. But this is where we get into Belichick versus Quinn experience versus anything else. I think is that once Le'Veon Bell was gone, pressure was irrelevant to them. Belichick's always been a proponent of sacks are overrated. Pressure is important. But nevertheless, if all
But
you
they
have
get
to
none.
do is rush 2 with 0 running threat, Roethlisberger isn't the quarterback who can pick apart a zone. He's not that guy. He's a bombs away Favre type.
But they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough weapons. Atlanta's loaded. Like,
Yeah, I mean, your argument is strong that they're going to score, but I don't think they can prevent New England from scoring either. I mean, you can sway me here, by the way. Like I said, I had an opinion, but by no means do I have a strong opinion on this.
I'm scared as fuck to bet against New England. But looking at the AFC this year, the AFC was shit.
And New England's had an absurdly soft schedule.
Well, but
I
even
agree.
just through
Atlanta
the playoffs,
has beaten better teams than New England has even faced.
yes.
But
Like the one team that beat New England that had any type of playoff success was Seattle. I can't get away from how much Precise killed them in that game. They destroyed them with no pass rush. And that was when Seattle had all they talked about going into that game was that Seattle's offensive line was garbage. And they couldn't get near them. There wasn't pressure. There wasn't sacks. There was nothing. Did their defense improve that much from that game, or did they just not play anybody? Like, I don't know what the answer is.
it's a hard question this year because of the cesspool of mediocrity.
Well, and it carried through in the playoffs. I wish it would have actually been better to see New England have to play Kansas City's defense.
I think
Like, how
Kansas
did they-
City overall is a better team than Pittsburgh. And I think that game was sitting there for Kansas City.
Oh, it was totally. But so that's where I'm stuck.
Where do we land then? My opinion is I'd land with Belichick and Brady. On the experience factor, if nothing else. Like
Yeah, but that
I
didn't hold true
dispute
for the
your
Colts.
statement that we chose the best pass rush. We chose the best defense.
Yeah, but that's my argument. Is New England a good defense? Or have they just played shitty teams and shitty quarterbacks? Roethlisberger's the best quarterback they faced all year.
But Atlanta's given up well over 30 several times over the season.
Yeah, what about the last 8 to 10?
Well, I think one of those was Green Bay, that they, in the regular season, 36-33.
Yeah, that's not in the last 8 weeks, though.
Yeah, it was.
No.
Well,
Because
bring up your
the
schedule
Packers,
if you could.
I am. The Packers won 8 in a row going in.
Okay.
They won their last 7 regular seasons.
No,
so
that's pretty much impossible for me to argue. Yeah. Yeah, just bring up the schedules here.
I am. Okay. Whoa. This fucking computer.
Let's
Scroll
talk from
only.
week 10, right? Let's try to get where these teams were from week 10.
Lost to the Eagles.
Which team is this?
Falcons, 24-15. Beat the Cardinals, 38-19. Chiefs beat them, 29-28.
They let the Chiefs put up 29.
Yeah. Rams got 14, Niners 13, Panthers 16. That's probably their best win in the last half was against the Panthers when they shut them down
And
at Carolina.
The Panthers were actually playing half decently at that stage.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm getting you to do this, but New England.
Okay. Yeah, not as impressed. Thought. But there's no good teams. That's what makes it so fucking hard. Usually we had two really good teams, and this year we have two really good offenses.
Exactly. Or at least we have mirror images, you know, a defense versus an offense, which has probably led to some of our recent, well, several years Super Bowl success.
Yeah.
The number that screams at me there was giving up 29 to KC.
Yeah, but the defense didn't give up the points. Barry had an interception return, and they blocked the fucking extra point. Remember? That's how they won that game.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, but they still gave up. They didn't block the extra point. KC picked off Matt Ryan.
Oh yeah, two-pointer.
On the 2-point conversion, or reversion as Simmons calls it, which, by the way, I actually really like.
Okay, so they gave up 24 or 31 to the Seahawks in Week 10, 17 to the Niners, 17 to the Jets. Rams got 10, Ravens 23, Broncos 3, Jets 3, Dolphins 14. That's their last regular season games.
Some common opponents, they gave up similar numbers.
Yep. Yeah, that helps clear the muddy waters.
Okay, my argument here is still going to hang on to better coach, better quarterback, being there before.
Yeah, but they would have said that. See that argument, then I think, well, they would have said that about the Saints and the Colts when they beat them. Well, Breeze versus Manning. When Saints won. They remind me a lot of this Falcons team.
That Colts team was never well coached.
No, but the experience factor and all that you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's most of the time it's true. And I think it was part of the reason, those primarily defense, that we went with Denver last year. The bulk of the team has been in a Super Bowl. If you want to overrule me, but nothing we found, your arguments are totally sound, totally valid, but nothing has completely swayed me.
No.
And I'm left with my argument basically being Belichick and Brady.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Oh, we never did decide how much we're betting on that.
$20. That's what we bet last year.
Yeah, fair enough. Then we got 10 left there.
Well,
for halftime.
Here's what I was thinking with the 10 is we do a try bet. Because I think it's going to be close.
Okay, you see, I considered the try bet, which, for new listeners, is we get either team and we have the victory within 5 points by either side. I could see this game being a blowout for either side.
See, the Patriots have played every game has been 3 or 4 points in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it's been Brady and Belichick, no matter what offense they've had, or against whatever team. Carolina, everybody thought that was going to be a blowout.
I was in Vegas and I had Carolina plus 4.5. What I won't tell about that story usually is I made the wrong bet at the window. I meant to take New England minus 4.5, and I took Carolina, but it turned into a nice little win.
So
I was too lazy to walk back. Anyway.
Well, and that defense against Carolina would have been considered better than the one they have now.
Oh, it certainly was.
So that's why I like the try bet. Every Super Bowl they've been in has been decided by 3 or 4 points.
Okay. You swayed me on that. I like that we have a side,
so
though,
back to our
and
original
try
bet. Oh. Yeah. And that covers us for something stupid like New England losing the Super Bowl like they did both Giants games on the last-minute drive.
Yep.
Which wouldn't surprise me if it happened with Atlanta's offense. They can move the fucking ball. And I don't care how good your corners are or your safeties or linebackers. If you get no pressure, this game's going to be... And if I had a propensity to bet, I would bet the over.
Yeah, I'm considering a tease and the over. But even I don't even know 60. If I'll do that personally.
I think this is getting to 60. I could see it being 31-28.
I'd rather bet your try, honestly.
Yes. Oh no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not being a proponent for the over. But if you're betting one way or the other, bet the over. This is going to be. I see this playing out like the Carolina one. But okay, so our original bet: New England Patriots -3. $20 pays $38.18. Booked. Now let's go back to the old try bet.
And I'll just explain that again. The try bet is a 3-result bet, and we bet any other result. You can bet New England by 6 or more, Atlanta by 6 or more, or any other result. So essentially you have both teams plus or minus 5.
Yeah. And the best result for us would be New England by 4.
Or 5.
Or 5. Or 3 or 2 or 1.
No, well, 3 or 2 or 1, we don't win our main bet. So.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yes, by 4. But as kind of I like this as kind of a hedge on Atlanta.
Well, it makes sense when you wanted the other side. I was very curious as to how this pod would go. I thought if we were both on New England, it would be sort of boring. But you're favoring Atlanta a bit, and I get that. You make solid points.
Marlon, it's like 51-49. It's not even. That's how I've been for 2 weeks. I had no idea, but when you just lay it down and go Belichick, Brady, okay, how can I argue? With all the stuff I laid out, and you just go Belichick, Brady. Yeah, that's it.
The other number I would cite is the 29 to KC.
Yeah, but I cite Seattle against New England.
I will also say New England has nothing like Tyreek Hill.
No. I think
he was a fairly big factor in that game, too. But
I just have a feeling they'll be talking about Gronk again, just like they did in the Giants Super Bowl loss when he played with the bum ankle. They don't have the weapons that you can't slow down.
No.
There's not one, okay, we got to keep our eye on Chris Hogan. Okay.
Yeah,
But
but
you
I also see. Let's not forget, Belichick was a coordinator on the Super Bowl 25, which shut down Buffalo, where Parcells just stated shorten the clock.
Yeah.
And I could see that being sort of the philosophy here. And very few teams are as good at picking up 6, 3, 1 first downs as New England.
But I could see Atlanta going to the run.
Their runs are burst runs, though, much more than New England.
Yeah, but not when you switch in Coleman. He's more of a bruiser than Freeman.
Well, I love both the backs for Atlanta. I really like this Atlanta team, by the way. Like, even though I've been fairly staunch on New England here, I have no disrespect or contempt for this Atlanta team.
Oh, and over the season, Ryan is very close to putting up Brady numbers.
Well, he's one of the top 5 offenses in history.
Like, it's...
History in the NFL, you always take with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But...
And New England's defense hasn't... I know the number 1 scoring defense and all that bullshit, but it just...
That's the softest schedule I've maybe ever seen in my life.
And they haven't played an offense like this, and that Seattle game just sticks in my craw. I like pressure, and New England has none. That's why I like the try-bet. We've already made the other one, so why am I still talking about Atlanta? Okay, so we have the try-bet. Any other result? We have the Falcons or the Patriots by plus or minus 5. $10 pays 32. So unless Atlanta blows out New England or vice versa, this bet has us covered for an Atlanta win at the end.
Yeah, a tight game.
But I'm... part of my fuck you mentality wants New England to win, so Goodell has to come out and give him that fucking trophy.
Yeah, part of that too, but I mean, and maybe this is a function of Hard Knocks a bit too. I like a lot of the young players in Atlanta. You know, many of them were just appearing in Hard Knocks under Mike Smith. Right, and we didn't really see him. Freeman, I thought, was really cool, and we saw how shocked he was by how hard they hit in practice in the NFL, even.
Yeah.
But I loved him renting his apartment. It was a nice one-bedroom apartment. And then, of course, they cut to Harry Douglas's mansion with a palm tree in the middle, which we'll see you soon on Bankrupt Athletes. But, you know, I like a lot of the players from Atlanta.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's our picks.
All right.
Do you want to recap us there,
yes.
Chief?
We have 2 bets on the main game. We have $20 on New England -3. That 20 pays $38.18. Then we have a $10 any other result try bet, which means that as long as the game is within 5 points, we cash this bet. $10 pays $32.
All right. If you want to check out our podcast, you can listen to it on iTunes. And if you do listen to it on iTunes, please give us a 5-star review. Don't even have to listen to it. Just go there, download it, leave us a review. Get our numbers up.
And if you like it, just tell anyone that, you know, we're not great, but we're pretty good.
We've had winning years back to back. So that must count for something.
I think it's back to back to back.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't put money in the account in 3 years, so I'll hang my hat on that. Okay, or you can listen to us at Stitcher for your Android device, on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter, @offensivelines, for any updates to our blog posts or when a new podcast is available. Facebook.com/offensive lines. And if you want to send us an email, it's offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon, and that was our Super Bowl pick show.
Dean Spanos.
Cocksucker. But better than Jed York.
Generous fucking gambler.